O'clock. Welcome everybody to Sohmalife Sundays. This adventure was born of the joining of two friends, Rob Scarpa and I, when he last summer approached me and said that he wanted to do a show where we would interview people who have beautiful connections with spirit. And we've been doing this weekly for, I guess, the past 9 months. We started in September, and we've had, I think, over 30 different guests. It's really been beautiful. And tonight's guest is an extraordinary man. He is a psychic, he is a medium, he is a mystic, Mr. Daniel Akner. And he also hails from Long Island. I had the incredible opportunity of seeing him at an event at an organization organized by the Eyes of Learning. And it was a Meet the Psychics night where you had groups of 20 or 25 people that were sitting, and there were 5 psychics that would do a round robin with you. And I was just so taken by Daniel, and have had the chance to have a reading from him myself. So we'll definitely have more of a chance to get to know him in the show. But we always like to start by asking Rob to please bring forth one of his readings. Rob received a gift a couple of years ago when he was doing channeling training, where he's been downloading. Rob, how many messages have you received from Spirit by now?
Or in a couple of hundreds now, more than 300, I think, at this point. They come in. The more I make the time for them, the more messages there are. It's just a matter of me making the space for them to come in.
Take some discipline.
There's really no limit to
He does
who
it
we
every
can connect,
morning.
as you know, right?
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Yeah. So there's no limit to it. So this particular message I've got, and I think I posted it on Friday, but it's one that I would like to share, and it's important because it continues with the theme of messages for the last few months about the shift, the change that's happening on our world, and the energy that the galactics, the angelics want us to put out is the energy of the light one, to own the light one, that we're going to get through this. We've gotten through it, and this is just the last of it that we're dealing with right now, globally, whether it be the pandemic, whether it be anything else that's going on. Not to be specific, because I don't want to add any energy to what we don't want any more of. We want the new, we want the age of Aquarius, we want heaven on earth. That's what we're looking for. We've had enough of the nonsense, right? So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. All right, when this one starts. And with many of my messages, because someone had brought this up recently, sometimes I don't know who the message is from until I get to the very end of the message. Sometimes I recognize the energy, or I ask for a specific energy or entity to come in, whether it be Hathor or Cryon or Jesus or Hilarion. But some days I just open up the door and, okay, who comes in, who has a message? And then when I get to the end, then I find out who it's from. And I found some people didn't like that I wouldn't say it up front, but I always leave it to the end because that's how the message comes in. So that's how the message goes back out. So here he goes. All right. And this is what I heard that morning. Greetings. For today is a day of open communication. Much is available. Much will be said. For this is a time, a moment of integration. Your thoughts are not your own, it seems. But some days I just open up the door and didn't like that I wouldn't say it up front. But I always because that's how the message. But this is.
I can't hear him now.
That was I stopped talking because someone's got their Facebook on while I'm reading. So it's coming back around.
Is it okay now?
Sounds good now. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to start again from the beginning because the whole thing replayed. Greetings. For today is a day of open communication. Much is available. Much will be said. For this is a time, a moment of integration. Your thoughts are not your own, it seems. It is as if they come from somewhere else, and this is the case. The message that we are here to share with you are of great significance, as always. Your planet has entered ascension status, and with that status comes the opportunity for great cleanse and alignment to the higher realms of consciousness. The oneness that is often mentioned is, of course, paramount within this journey of self. Realizing divinity in all is but an aspect of ascension. Knowing that you are each God's and realizing the power to create simply with thoughts and words is something new for humanity. The primary message for you is this: expect great things, expect great change, expect that you and all around you will witness a profound shift or event to occur. And as this event unfolds, revelations are to occur. Some that have been foreseen, and many that will surprise and delight so many. Know this. Know that all is well as we monitor the collective constantly. We are aware of those who would like nothing more than to continue in their efforts to control. This will not be the conditions for much longer. Gaia is thrilled and delighted with the response and support of so many in their efforts to assist with her cleanup and promote love and respect for her. No longer can those of humanity hide from their deeds of disrespect for Mother Earth. As you are fully aware, your planet is in full control, provided for in every way. It is an act of free choice that tilts the scale, a scale in which all is compiled, all is reviewed, nothing goes unnoticed. Only through the eyes of a human may things be unseen or overlooked. That is not the way of it from our vantage point. Remembrance is the key, and the more and as more and more are beginning to realize that the power and the divinity that is within is the power to create all that is external, and in doing so, one can create the perfect reality while still walking the planet. It is our intention today to impart this knowledge and its effects upon you and your surroundings at this time in your galactic circles. Each time a planet reaches ascension status, celebrations occur of undescribable beauty within the constructs of the 3D. So much is to be celebrated, so much to be proud of. Each one of you who carries the torch of enlightenment is set to receive all that has been promised. Congratulations once again, for the victory of light has come. It was no small feat, yet there is still work left to do within the collective, as so many have still not realized how profound this shift is upon your world. Continue to go about your chores and tasks this day and each day forward, knowing that we are right here beside you, ready to communicate with you. We are in every thought you possess. Every moment of silence is an opportunity for you to hear our words and heed our warnings. This is a critical time, and your diligence and cooperation is paramount at this juncture. We are your family. We are your loved ones of long ago, awaiting the moments with great anticipation to reveal ourselves. We want nothing more than for you to see us as we are. And as you do, you will see yourselves as the true divine beings of light and love that accepted the mission without hesitation. As your numbers grow in remembrance, the strength continues to expand within the sequence. Please know that we are with you always. We come to you with love and watch over you with great admiration and anticipation. The Council of Light.
Beautiful.
So
So that's a pretty profound message.
yeah. It talks about how we decided to do this, how we've 100% backed up by the teams on the other side, and we've got this. We're on the home stretch now. We've just got to ride out the last of the rapids, and we get to the home, that nice, calm, steady port. There's so many messages they've told us that, right?
Seems
That
to
harbor is waiting.
it has a lot of balance attached to this particular message. It's all about the balance.
Yeah. Just staying in trust and recognizing our divinity. That's the whole key to winning this game, owning that we are gods. Each one of us has an aspect. It's oneness. It's all of the adjectives that we use all the time.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. So Daniel, would you please share with everybody your journey with spirit? I know that's a really broad and expansive request to make, but you've had a really amazing journey. The thing that most impressed me was the deck that you made, the deck of cards that you had.
Yeah, I have it with me.
that you said is some 40 years old.
Yeah, it's got to be 40 now at least.
And how many cards are in that deck now?
It tends to, yeah, I'd say it fluctuates somewhat. Originally, there were just simply the 78 major and minor arcanum,
Mhm.
but it really is not a tarot deck, it's a divination deck. So I find that tarot was not addressing subject matter like astral projection, bilocation, past lives, and we go on and on. 1111, the opening of the vortexes, the omniverse. So I added idiosyncrasies that I felt could help either amplify the energies, or that wasn't necessarily the motive is amplification, but at least give me a little bit more extra detail, which it has helped. And because we live in the physical world, and I'm an artist, having painted this divination deck, I find that over the decades of having them in the hands of well-established intuitives and mystics from the past that are now long gone, their energies still exist in this tactile psychometric vibrational field, which is kind of cool. So even though a lot of the cards now are starting to get rather dog-eared, some are turning to dust. I'm actually collecting the pieces. I'm rebottling them. You never know. It has its own power. It doesn't matter anymore what pigment is on the card anymore.
Do you ever go anywhere without them, or do you have them with you all?
Absolutely, because us guys need tools, and I'm a dude, so if I was working on your roof, I'd need a nail gun, and if I do a reading, I find the cards help me. I would like to pretend to believe that when I put them away, and my wife has bought me so many beautiful boxes over the years to place them in, that when I put them away, I've turned down the pilot light of the energy fields. But the reality is I'm fooling myself. I cannot turn down the pilot light.
Right.
It's on whenever it wants to come in,
Yeah.
as you guys know.
Yeah.
Lynn and Rob,
Yeah.
These rays of light come and go when they're able to get their way in or when they're invoked. And that's just the way it is. But yeah, of course, when they are in my vibrational field, I would imagine if anything's amplified, it's my reading ability. Because we're under a time constraint with clients, and I just want to make sure let me get right to the details rather than have to fish for them or investigate too long. So it expedites the answers.
At that first Eyes of Learning event, gifts are my first love language, and you had some crystals and you gave one to me the very first time we met. And it felt like our souls touched each other. It was precious to me.
I'm so delighted that you're saying that, because that is the intention behind it. It's almost always quartz crystals, occasionally a Herkimer diamond. I like clear stone.
It was a beautiful milky white crystal.
Yes.
And I immediately put it in a little cage, and I treasure it. And then there was a time where I had a booth at one of the Eyes of Learning events, and we had the pyramids that James had made up. And I remember you came and you stood under that pyramid, and I literally saw you start glowing.
Right.
Like, who is this man? And then that beautiful picture of us was taken that day.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it is not only do those pyramids really start to expound on our own energy fields, and you were so beautiful that day. And it might be because my arms are like selfie sticks. I just knew that I could get the perfect shot of us in that moment. And I'm so glad that we caught that moment, because
that was beautiful. That was beautiful. And then I had the pleasure of having a reading with you last year, which was extraordinary.
Right.
So can you talk about, when did your gift show up for you? Was it something you were born with? Was it something you uncovered? How have you developed it? How did the gift develop?
Indeed something that I was born with. It runs in the family. So I remember I didn't want to spook my parents out, and thankfully they weren't the kind of parents that would be spooked. But I remember being a little boy and reportaging to them that I could remember the Martin Denny album that was playing Quiet Village when I was being created. Or that's something to tell your parents. It's like, oh my God. But rather than just be like, what the heck? They understood that I was cognizant in the womb. And prior to my birth, I did have the umbilical cord wrapped 3 times around my neck.
Wow.
So I was supposed to be born on Christmas. Thankfully, I was premature, or I wouldn't have made it, the doctor said. But I feel to some extent, because all my siblings are intuitives, but my gift is probably a little bit, I don't know if it's because I use my energies like that more professionally, that the energy field is a little bit more uplifted, or it's because of that moment of being deprived of oxygen may have turned on other switches inside my physical being that then opened up the vibrational fields. Yeah. But when I was a little boy growing up with my brother, we were 1.5 years apart, we shared a room at the time, there was a lot of spiritual activity around us when I was then by 5, 6, 7, and 8 in that vicinity. The house was very haunted. My parents were quite aware of it. Us kids were too. But I was the one, though, that they were touching. And my brother Steve could watch my skin indent, and I'd be like, they're touching me. And I wasn't frightened. I was really, because it's such a passion and calling of mine, I was very interested and curious. And because it runs in the family, he wasn't scared either. It was just quite a phenomenon when my little schnauzer on the bed was barking at first hysterically when something came in the room, because animals, as we know, are very good barometers of activity around us anyway.
Yes.
Cats and dogs will look at things on the ceiling that we're not paying any, we don't know that it's there, but they do.
Oh yes, when my cat stares off and I'm like, what is it? And
yeah, very
you know
often
there's something there. And
activity that they are indeed aware of.
yeah.
And then I just from then just that was my world, as Rob was just saying. That was my oneness, that was my consciousness, this was my experience. And even though I'm an older guy now, back in those days, it wasn't like this Zoom presentation. Now we can have a chat about it. It was sort of just like, what on earth is this? I'm glad that it's become now in this age of Aquarius, more embraced by the public at large. It's fantastic. Everybody's opening up to their higher consciousness, which is great. And it's given me more of an opportunity to continue to flourish and explore where, as you guys do, wherever the octaves are calling me next, in this, what I prefer to call the ethereum that's around us, that either helps or sometimes even prevents us from entering into certain vibrational fields if maybe the time isn't right for us yet for that. I always trust that too. I never push the envelope. If the universe doesn't want me to tap into a certain modality of mysticism, I feel there's a reason behind it. So at least I did when I was younger. I was watching myself as I'm getting older, and you have to be more and more responsible in order to have these kind of gifts and not potentially, I never did, but potentially misuse them.
Yeah. Can you explain how a reading goes for you with people, given that it looks like you literally have hundreds of cards there?
Yeah, I do. There's several hundred in the divination deck. First, I have very sweet clients. So initially, when they sit down with me, they start they're kind, and they start wanting to chatter about some of the personal things in their life experience or their agenda in the reading. Even I have to say to them, listen, you're wonderful, but I beg of you, say no more. Let me do my job. Let me pick up everything I can around your vibrational field, your auric field, and then after I do that, which is usually because with my Virgo ascendant in a perfect world, I choose 9 cards. Sometimes more will come out. It depends. They'll come flying out at the client. It's quite shocking when these things happen, but they do quite often. And then after I pick up whatever I pick up around a vibrational field of another person, then I ask them, yes, direct me at least. Don't give a lot away, but direct me where you might want me to vaguely go, and I'll find potentially the answers that you're looking for. But I do appreciate the help. It's great that people want to. That shows a certain level of trust. But I feel it is my job to insist that I work hard for what does come through.
Your gift is extraordinary.
Well, thank you.
I watched you with people, and then I particularly saw up close when you did the reading with me.
Right.
What do you feel is like your gift with being able to connect to spirit? How do you feel like that can serve people? Like if people are a little nervous, or
and they are.
Are they going to know things? Like, is he going to know things about me? Because I get that sometimes.
I know I can pick up a lot of people that get bugged by my energy field just for that reason, because they think I'm tapping into their vibrational field. I never do without permission. I don't want to tap into anybody's vibrational field. I learned that as a young guy going to shopping malls when I would start to inadvertently pick up how many people had stolen merchandise on them. Forgive me for saying that.
Wow.
But it would just start to give me a sort of a sense of what is humanity? What is this? But then, of course, everybody has a different reason why they do things. Some is because they're needy, others because they just want to see what their power is, others, and then I stopped thinking about it. I just told myself, that's it. I learned that at about 18, which was stop just picking up vibrational fields. It's going to drain you, Daniel. So now, yeah, when my clients want me to, then it's a traditional vibrational field in a reading. I'm in that zone then, which is a very powerful place to be.
How do you recharge yourself? Say you've had 3 or 4 readings in a day.
Right.
How do you recharge yourself?
Well, firstly, I try not to do 4 readings in a day. That's one.
My limit's 3, and
Yeah,
exactly.
my limit would be 3, 2, unless, like, I just did a library Zoom recently where I read 17 people out of the 75 that were present. But
Wow.
but that was also as quick as I could go. Hopefully, one question at a time kind of thing. It's not a full blown what I prefer to do, which I've done for you, a real reading where
Right.
we try to exhaust the vibrational fields until we've picked up everything. But the way I charge my batteries is first nature. So being out with the flowers, the birds, the trees, whether it's day or night, that charges my batteries right up.
And
Eating
you have a
well.
beautiful garden.
Oh, thank you.
I
Thank you.
love the pictures that you have. There's a tree. Did you paint? Obviously, you painted the tree. The
Yes.
tree looks personified. The tree looks like a being.
I have a tendency to anthropomorphize everything.
Yes.
So a lot of the oaks and hickories on the property all have faces, but that tree, the oaks are roughly between 100 and closer to 200 years old.
Wow.
They're enormous trees. It just took me thousands of dollars 2 weeks ago just to trim them. But I have all the faces facing the front of the house, so no one on the street can see it. But a lot of the neighbors know it. In fact, I heard a gentleman come by with his little daughter this afternoon. I was cutting these lilacs, and I heard him saying, all those trees, if you look at a certain way, if you stand here, you can see the faces from the side of the house. It's kind of funny that I was going to invite them in, but I was doing the Zoom. I had too much to get ready for, so I didn't. But at Halloween, my wife and I illuminate the trees, and we allow all the kids to come into the ground so that they can be photographed with their parents by the trees. And it's like being in the Wizard of Oz. It's kind of funny.
Halloween is my high holy holiday.
And really, May Day Eve, which we've just experiencing this weekend, Beltane, Rudmas, Walpurgisnacht, it's really the 6th-month coordinate to polarity to Halloween. So I don't know if you've noticed, but Friday night, Saturday night, tonight, the vibrational field is very similar. So even though nothing's in decay, it's all bursting out of this ground. It is bursting, and the flowers are exuding aura and frequency. I love it, but it's very spiritual.
I love that, spending time in nature. That is such an important component, and we hear that from time to time.
And also, very importantly, and this goes for when I work with people on psychic development. You have to eat well. You have to drink plenty of water. You have to stay hydrated. I drink purely either Icelandic, Scandinavian, anything pH, high pH, low acid. New York water is delicious. And I'm in New York. I love New York, but it's highly acidic. It's not good for my arthritis. It's not good for my nerve endings. I always pay strict attention to what I'm eating, to what I'm envisioning, to what I'm looking on television. You got to do a lot of different things to stay calm.
Yeah, keeping the frequency high for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. What process do you go through before you're going to do a reading with someone? How do you tune into their energy? Do you talk to their ancestors? Do you talk to their souls, their higher selves? I
find I don't invoke their ancestors, but usually about a week before their actual reading, even if they schedule it months in advance, their relatives will come to me.
Yes.
And it can actually become quite burdensome. I have to sometimes, I'm almost grateful when their reading's done and dusted, because then the spirits are soothed, the vibrational field came through, they were guided properly, like guardian angels that love us in the heavens should be guiding us. But then I can also release myself from the grip that some of them can hold on me, which can be rather intense, especially when people like us, we have our own spirit guides that are holding us and embracing us and weaving through the tapestry of our soul. So I understand, but yeah, it can be a heavy load to carry when you've got that kind of vibrational field around you. But I would say I also somewhat go into meditation, my own version of it, which is just, try, Daniel, to let a lot go, especially now that the moon's waning. It's in Aquarius, it's waning, a good time to let go of anything anyway. And talk to the trees. I'll talk a lot to the trees. They're old beings. They're just as powerful as crystals. Yeah. In a pinch, though, a crystal will always do for me. Yes. Gets me in that kind of zone.
Do you have a favorite crystal? Like a particular one that you love to have with you all the time?
Yes, I do. I'd have to say probably 3. I hate to say that I do have 3 favorites, because everything's my favorite. My favorite zodiac signs, I like them all. My favorite crystals, I like them all. My favorite color, I wear them all. but if I must carry crystals every day, and I do, it's quartz crystal in my pocket always. Houdini did the same thing back in 1920.
Mm.
I mean, he never left the house without quartz crystals because clearly Tesla knows this. They make electrical connections with our bodies and with others. And once you're aware of that kind of a vibrational field, you want that kind of powerful connection. Quartz, which sometimes when I find that they've utilized enough of my energy, they want to go to someone else like yourself, whether it's white quartz or clear quartz, I do give them away as gifts. Herkimer diamonds, same thing. They're a New York stone. They are found in Herkimer, New York. It is said by those in more authority of gemology that and the mythologies of it, that you should collect crystals closer to where you are born or live, or generally, that's just a general rule of thumb. That's why I choose Herkimer. And my other third favorite is Danburite, a Connecticut found stone, a Danbury. But I find I wouldn't have thunk it until I started to hold Danburite and realize, oh, wow, this has moved right up to crown chakra. And it's also helping throat chakra uniquely. I can express this. So, yeah, but I have to say, if I could only have one crystal ever, it would be quartz, the salt of the earth.
Beautiful. I love rose quartz. I carry rose quartz. I have a beautiful Lemurian crystal.
Me too.
And I was just recently introduced to Herkimer, and I noticed that when I wear it as earrings and I wear it as a ring, and it really enhances my channeling.
Isn't it wonderful?
Oh yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, it does, because again, crown chakra, it's a double terminated natural stone. It grows by seed. It doesn't come out of the earth like points, like quartz does. If you open up, I've mined Herkimers with my wife, and when you hit it, they'll just all come barreling out of the crack in the basalt. It's astonishing that a crystal would even do that. Speaking of rose quartz, I don't know if you can see it on the screen. No, you can't. I have above me a huge rose quartz bowl. It's rather heavy, so I'm not going to monkey with it now, but I know what you're saying about rose quartz. I keep it, a lot of it in the front of the house even, so that even people passing feel love, emit love, feel good. It's a great crystal.
Beautiful. Now, when your cards fall over like that, sometimes when I'm shuffling a deck, I'll have a card that'll jump out, like it's trying to talk to you. Does that happen with your deck sometimes?
It just happened just now, so I was curious to see what is facing us. So everything, it turns out, well, just forgive me for whatever shot you're seeing. So whatever, they're all facing down except one. And what's interesting is the one that chose to face me or us, I'm glad you asked that and noticed it, is
Spirit told me to ask.
The Two of Cups.
Okay.
It's a traditional minor arcanum card. It's ruled by a Cancerian energy field, Venus and Cancer family. Let's be family. Let's respect each other. Or broken down to one word, if you were to Google it, the Two of Cups is called love. So how appropriate. In fact, I even put it at the top and bottom, pink and green for the two colors of the heart chakra.
Yes.
Green for more healing when it comes to the landscape of love, and a greater version of pink, just like you were just describing. I love when the cards validate what we're just talking about. The card below it, ironically, shows mostly a border of pink also, but yeah, the cards are so active that they react to invocation or discussion. So you're getting a connection with the cards already, which is kind of cool.
I never understood why the heart chakra could be both pink and green.
Right.
And how it was explained to me. Green is when we give love, and pink is when we receive love.
Right.
I thought that was so beautiful.
It is a beautiful way to look at it. I also sometimes see green as springtime or healing. And those of us who ever have had the courage to love, and I'm grateful that I have, you can get a broken heart in your lifetime because you lose people or things. Life is precarious.
Well, you and Nan have been together since you were high school sweethearts, right?
It was actually before high school.
Wow.
Nancy's with me right now, but
hi, Nancy.
We were just kids. We're like childhood sweethearts.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's like a dream come true. If the boy that I had a crush on in high school were the one that I ended up with, I mean, that would have been, pure magic. But
I know that I was a very lucky boy to have chosen to descend into matter so close to where my wife did. But there are people that I read, though, that their readings can sometimes suggest the love of your life is not in the myopic fishbowl of an experience, but rather in Paris, or another part of the world. And gratefully, sometimes these clients are saying, I happen to be going to Paris this summer. So it's sort of like, yes, be open to the vibrational fields, because your beloved is in another part of the world.
Or sometimes they're on the other side. Sometimes they don't come in.
That's the hardest part. You're absolutely right. That's the hardest part, is when you see a person has the capacity for soulmate vibrational field, but that person does not exist in the same vibrational plane right now as that one. That can be, rather heartbreaking. That's why I'm so grateful to have had my wife, Nancy, as long as I have in my life, because I know it's quite a gift.
You guys are inspiring.
5 years together, but it's really, I mean, married. It's got to be 45 years together, 49. At least. 49 then? She's saying 49. Oh my God.
Incredible. Incredible. For 49 years, there is one thing I have done consistently, and that is breathe in and breathe out. Spit it.
I haven't even done that properly. Nancy's sister always notices, she's got a Virgo moon. She notices all the details. There are times when I hold my breath. I've always just done it. I don't know whether it's a whatever from a past life, or
when you had gills.
Yeah, or when I had the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck, is what I was trying to say. I was trying to find the word for a moment. But I'll have those semi moments where I stop breathing. I don't particularly care for that. I don't even know why I do it, but she's the first one to know. She goes, Daniel, you're not breathing.
Rob, was there something that you wanted to ask, my love? I noticed that you...
Well, there was a few things, but he's moved through them. Which one did I go back to? We'll just keep going forward. Just keep going forward. I don't want to.
No. I saw you mute and unmute a couple of times.
As we were going along, but then he did. My first question was, when you talked about as you prepare for a reading, let's say you're going to give someone a reading in a week. Right. Their family members, their energies they're aware. Right. They're stepping in. You're getting used to their energy and vice versa, right? Sure. But you said that sometimes it's very heavy, and then you have to kind of help them leave. And I thought, my question was, how come if you were just to command them to leave, how come they don't just leave?
Oh, I would never command them to leave. That's why. It's on me. Yeah, okay. I would not give them a license to depart, because, well, first of all, spirits can be willful. And I understand, because people are. So if they have an agenda, they're not going to let go. They just don't. Nothing I say or do is going to make them just be like, sure, Danny, whatever you want. So that's part of the responsibility of the work, is knowing that I'm going to make quite a number of connections for each individual. Fasten your seatbelt, Danny. Here we go. So yeah, I would have to say, rarely do I do it. Here's an example. 2 years ago, when my nephew died, this week, it's an anniversary. He was in his 20s, 3 years. He was an Aquarius. So of course, he was a very powerful mystic in his own right. Aquarians just are, as a general rule. Mm-hmm. So none of us knew he had passed yet. We hadn't been told this. But I walked into the parlor and I heard, as loud as can be, Daniel. And I was just like, Uncle Daniel, 3 times. I just was like, Bob, I know it's you. I can hear you. And then he so I didn't say stop. I didn't feel it was appropriate, but I guess he just needed me to know he's okay, even though I didn't know what had happened yet, that he can connect with me whenever he wants to. And he did stop out of respect for his uncle, because sometimes it does get a bit much when I have such a tactile experience like that. I mean, I certainly hear voices from various spirits, but this was so blatant and trumpet-like that it was just like glaring. But the poor kid had just passed. So he reached out to me, and fortunately he knew right away, oh, I can make a connection with the living, which must have soothed him a lot to know that.
Sure. No, I get what you're saying there. I meant, and I didn't mean like command in the,
I know.
A harsh tone, but
I demand you leave immediately.
That's it, right?
Come back with a cheeseburger.
But what in my experience, because these messages come from so many different energies, and sometimes I don't have 3 hours to sit with them, so I have to go. Right. So whether I say it out loud or I just start to think, okay, I got to wrap this up because, I've got to go somewhere. And quite often they'll say, okay, we can resume whenever you want. whenever you want. They always leave it to me
Right.
to dial them back up.
Right.
And, so that's what I'm trying to draw the parallel between someone who you're inviting in to discuss, and to give messages to a human, to someone who's still surviving, versus the energies that come from all different, whether they're angelic or deceased humans.
Right.
For the most part, they respect me when I say, okay, now we're going to stop now. We'll pick it up later.
No, it's
I don't
very
seem to
great
be
of you.
bothered by it, is what
But
I'm
it's
saying.
wonderful of you to do this, and kudos to you for having that capacity and knowing that you need that moment to focus. Like I said, it's on me. I'm really the one that could potentially seal the vibrational field more. I'm generally, my auric field is generally just open, because I know for the most part in my lifetime I've attracted such goodly energy, and not the ill-dignified vibrational field or the ones that are too over the top with their agenda. So I kind of don't mind the busyness that goes on with all these different vibrational fields. But if it ever does get too much, I know where to draw the line, though.
It's when Rob and I did our channeling training, the friend of ours, Wendy, that taught us, said it's as important to be able to know how to turn them on as to know how to turn them off.
Exactly.
Like there has to be, and it's not just about protection, but it's about holding up a boundary. Because otherwise, I mean, I've had it where, I've been wide open, which is very useful at times. But there are other times where I've had to say, guys, like I'm closing down for the night.
Right.
I
It's like
mean,
that scene from Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg, which is like everybody out.
Yes. Oh my God! The first time I said to Wendy, Pallas Athena came to me in meditation, and she asked me if I would go with her, and she took me down underneath the water to the civilization that lives inside Earth. And I was just mind blown by this. Like I'd never had anything like that. And I reached out to Wendy, who had been channeling Metatron, and she said, I could teach you how to channel. And I said, no. I've seen ghosts. I saw that ghost hop inside of Whoopi Goldberg. What do you do your hair? I said, I'm not interested. She said it's not exactly. She said it's not like that. And I knew her for 30 years, so I could trust her. But she taught us like kind of the rules, and that we as sovereign beings have the right to say, thank you, not now. Now, when Helen Schuckman was doing her transcription with Jesus for the Course in Miracles, she said that they would take a break, and when she came back to it, they would pick up exactly where they left off.
Right.
Like it was flawless, like no time had gone by.
Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, I thought it was stunning.
That happens a lot in readings where, because I'm not in just some high-rise apartment, someone will be at the front door, either a solicitor or a package, and I can leave a client, do that, come right back, and I thought it was a guy thing. I'm just able to go right back in as if there was no interruption whatsoever.
Right.
I'm just in that zone, so there's no real distraction for me anyway.
Yeah, once in the beginning, it's not that many years ago, the messages started to come in, and they told me, Azrael, Angel Azrael stepped in, didn't invite him, and said, you've got to complete the messages you started, because in the beginning, I kind of felt like I would lose the connection, and the messages would fade off, and I would put ... or, all right, I'll get back to it. The next day, turn the page and start over again. And after a half a dozen or more messages that weren't complete, Azrael stepped in and said, you can't leave any message unfinished. You can go back to anything at any point. It's like reviewing a tape. It's all there. You can always just go right back to that point. So to your point, Lynn, when you say that Ellen Schuckman was able to go right back to where she stopped, that for me, I guess because, like she said, Wendy taught us that that's the way it was. So that's always the way I understood it to be. So that's the way I operate. Not that yours is wrong or anyone else's is wrong. My main point in that whole question, going back to that, and then I won't belabor it anymore, was for all of our guests here watching to know that when that energy is there, you do have the power, as the sovereign divine being that you are, to say, give me a break. We'll come back to it later. I got to get some rest. A lot of people at sleep, people are trying to get rest, and they're being bothered at night. So, and I so just to put everyone at ease, if you find that that's where it's at, just put your hands up and say, I'm done for now. I'll talk to you later. and walk away from it and move on. Because there's a lot of people here who are students in this who are just getting started. So I don't want anyone to feel that possibly, you know, I'm going to be bothered for a week. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's the only reason I wanted to go down that road and not anymore. You know, we're always limited for time because it's Sunday night. So I want you to be able to take any questions from anyone who's here tonight, because you've spoken about a lot of things, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who have a lot of questions. And I hope
If anybody has a question, please
post them.
either raise your hand or drop it in the chat.
You see, and you said you're an artist, Daniel. Is that something you do for a living?
His artwork is incredible.
Yes, I do. Portraiture is my specialty, but I can really paint anything. I've painted since I was a little kid. In oils, I started. Very gifted. I remember winning first prize in kindergarten, and the art contest went up to 6th grade. I remember my teacher telling me, Daniel, you won, but we can't give you the prize because the older kids are going to be very embarrassed that a 5-year-old won the contest. But it was a portrait of my mother, and she put it on the refrigerator, and I was so thrilled that she loved it. That really, frankly, that's all that mattered to me, is that she loved it. But yeah, I've been very grateful to the heavens because I've painted in many previous lifetimes. I'm quite an artist, and I can make a portrait look like it's breathing. So
I've seen the stuff you put on Facebook, and I've always been
thank you.
impressed.
Thank you. So I'd have to say that I remember being a kid and people telling me, you can only do one thing, Daniel. So what are you? Are you a writer? Are you a psychic? Are you an artist? I'm like, yes, I'm a diamond, and these are all the facets. And I'm not going to be weak at each vibrational field. I'm going to be my best at every vibrational field. I haven't allowed people in my lifetime to kind of categorize the vibrational field. And I don't think anyone else should either. People are listening here tonight. You can be a psychic. You can be a medium. It's not exclusive to me or anyone else. It's available to all of us. And you can even add nuances to your projection as time goes on, as you feel your abilities are growing and you feel conducive to it. But yeah, I don't think anyone should have to be stuck with one modality necessarily. But yeah, I love artwork. And it's interesting you asked that, Lynn, because it's another thing that comforts me. When I go to doctor's offices, sometimes I'll work on a small piece when they're taking my blood pressure, because it can go down significantly. But when I don't have my artwork, I get white coat syndrome. Even if I love the doctor, I've been going there for years, it'll spike. So I find painting help. It's interesting. Crystals will not help at all. No matter how I could bring labradorite, titanium coated amethyst, you think I'd be like, oh, sparkling crystals. It still spikes. But if I draw something, it goes way down. It's like, wow, this is like help. This is healthy.
Converting that energy.
Exactly. Exactly. Converting it, transmuting it, giving it a different vibrational field than just simply exposing it as some sort of high blood pressure syndrome, which it really isn't.
Right. So you've said, you know, in many lives, multiple past lives, I'm sure you've dug in because you're an Akashic record reader. So has Van Gogh come up in that?
In my own experience?
Yeah, a Van Gogh. Is there an aspect of you that's Van Gogh?
No, not really. Other than we're both artists. Maybe we've suffered from the tortured artist effect that all artists suffer from time to time, which is they don't understand me. But I feel more understood than he did, though.
That was what I got.
Yeah, I love people. They love me, so I don't feel as detached. But of all, it's interesting you mentioned him, because of all the art I've ever seen in my lifetime in person, it was Van Gogh's work. When I remember in my youth looking for the plug where this piece must be plugged into, because it was undulating in ways that other artists were not capable of doing. Wow. I just thought this must be an effect. And I realized, oh, it's his au revoir, it's his aura, it's his energy, it's his DNA that he's mixed into the paint. It
was like Rembrandt. Like Rembrandt had this phenomenal use of light.
Yes,
the work he did. You know what I found fascinating was Pablo Picasso, when he did his traditional artwork,
right,
was very, very close to the work that Rembrandt did.
Yes, when he was a little boy, Picasso, he would do some beautiful paintings of little girls getting their communion gowns on, and it was so photorealistic. And this is a little child. It was shocking. Yeah. It wasn't until he got older that he ditched it all in favor of abstract, which I totally appreciate, it, because this guy knows what he's doing, but he's bringing you a whole different vision if you can appreciate it, which is kind of cool.
Well, they say if you have mastery in one thing, you can have mastery in others, you know?
Right? Oh, cool.
There's actually a request in the chat. Could you do a reading for the next 2 months for May and June?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay.
So wait a minute. Am I to understand, though, this is a reading I'm doing for one individual or sort of a group reading for all of us right now?
Gary said, can you give a reading for the next 2 months, May and June?
Okay, so then the way I will do it, because I will claim my sovereignty, Rob, my power is let's do, I want to be involved in it. I want to see what's coming forward in May and June as well.
Okay.
So what I'm doing first is, now that your energy fields are all present, the cards have picked up your voices or picked up your auric fields, which are moved through the ethers like the internet has them do. Now I'll mix the cards. One just went flying. We will count it.
Okay, good.
But that's,
Love
I'll
that.
consider that to be May, not June, because it fell right at my feet in this month. But
Okay.
but let's also consider this octave. I tend to never look at the cards when I choose them.
I love that.
There's a second octave for May, but really it's a third if we count the one that fell on my left foot. There's a third octave or 4, and it stops me at 4. Now let's also take a look at May 2022, and let's all consider it, but be open to anything. Just be open. Tell yourself, good or bad, it is what it is. We just want to know, what is it? Okay, I feel like it's right to choose 4 for each. So it's a sort of an 8 or an eternity of sorts.
Love that.
Vibrations say this about the moment. The card that fell to the floor is exactly what I was just speaking about a moment ago. Halloween or autumn. Because I was mentioning that May Day Eve, Walpurgisnacht, Beltane, Roodmas, whatever.
Yes.
It's the 6-month polarity of All Hallows Even. So we're in that kind of a weekend where it's a polarity. So okay, so the universe is trying to tell us first, just stay in the moment. So before we go into any other detail, know that time just keeps moving. We all know we'll be here soon enough. That's the hardest thing for a gardener, is the beautiful garden I'm planting now to do my garden vignette readings will be in decline at some point soon enough. But anyway, the vibes also go further to say this. The energies then go into the notion of the various aspects of who we are, which is kind of a beautiful thing to say. A number 6 does come through there, which is kind of nice. A 6-pointed star, that's very Star of David. But the notion here of giving us extra information about numbers is that sense that, again, it could even be represented as a triangle or a pyramid over a pyramid, that sense of Trinity, and more. So, okay, there's that. To go further, though, also, the vibrational fields show us 1111. And those of us who are interested in such things as 1111, or it's new to us, to some people, it's an opening, it's a doorway, it's part of the new opportunity. I remember back in the 80s when we were all doing with friends harmonic conversions in Central Park, circles within circles or wheels within wheels, putting that out to the vibrational field as an 1111 moment, because 11 is a master number. It is not like other numbers to numerologists. It doesn't just add up to 2. It stays 11. Christ died at 33 and ascended into the heavens and resurrected, in essence, all in the essence of 11s, 3 times 11. So I love the fact that we're getting the sun, the moon, the stars, an 11-pointed star. And this is just what Rob was talking about a moment ago. May is proving to already be an opportunity in this year of Chinese metal ox to go beyond what we had to go through in 2019 and 20. 2019, we were just delusional about what was about to happen. 2020, it's even happening, and it was terrifying, other than nature restored itself, which was awesome. But now we have an opportunity to have the 2020 vision, now go further into May and beyond, and let's see what happens. The universe is telling us, well, if it's going to give us any counsel, and this is the card I said was the second card when they fell to the floor, but I just didn't show the picture, I showed the color. The imagery happens to be of a person from another time looking in a mirror or reflection. It does show a picture of a waning moon, which is in the sky tonight, but the sense is here is reflection in 2021, in May, taking stock of what we have learned in 2020 or last month, and ultimately applying this to the 6th month, even June, which May is already talking about and beyond. It showed us that number 6. So let's go into June. Let's get a sense of what it's saying to all of us. There were 4 cards as well. I got them all. Here's the first one. Mercury in Cancer. Speak to the people that you love and let them know how much you love them. Don't assume that people should just know that, of course, you adore them. It seems that some people, and this is in Cancer, like we said before, tends to rule domesticity and family. Mercury is clearly communication. This painting is traditionally called abundance. It shows the love being given to children, animals, people, but the sense is there are those that are reaching out to us, but may not be equipped with the proper verbiage to say, do you treasure me? It's important to let them know. Everyone needs that kind of support now, especially if, like Rob said, and Lynn, we're all awakening to our possibilities. We need support, that's all. To go further though, in June, the vibrations are also saying, and there's power. And we walk the tightrope of understanding abilities versus how are we utilizing them for the best, in the most goodliest way possible to help others. And it doesn't fall short on us. The image shows a bluebird guarding over her nest of eggs and those possibilities of what might happen. And in this painting, which is rather, the actual painting is a rather larger 24 by 18 by 24, I believe it is. There's lots of eggs and fae. There's a lot of nature spirits in this particular piece. The powers that exist around us that we're not even aware of. And that, for instance, is plant life, animal life, crystals, these energy fields or sentient or beings or whatever that we sometimes may feel, how much power do each one of them actually hold? Just as much as we do, and just as much as of an energy field over the universe, respecting the universe around us. The third vibration is the word love itself. So June is also suggesting, interesting, you might think May and June said things like, time to get on the bandwagon of your financial. It didn't say that this time. It's saying now more than ever, tap into your loving experience, your unconditional loving vibrational field. And should we do that, the final card says this, happily ever after. So it's giving us, so it's sort of like, it's our choice now. Do we want to be happy? Do reflect in May, be in the moment of whatever happens. Don't get flustered. Love a lot. Let others know that you do love them in case for some reason they forgot. But do own your power when you need to, which Rob had mentioned earlier, which is significant. That doesn't mean one has to be a wallflower when it comes to their prowess. And you can sometimes exhibit it. But again, as long as things are done diplomatically in a loving way, the sense I just got, because I included myself in this reading, is that May and June are looking pretty good.
Beautiful. Daniel, you mentioned the metal ox, and that was actually the astrological sign I was born under, and I'll be 60 this year.
Oh, wow. Powerful year for you then, because metal ox comes around every 60 years.
Right.
So finally, you're getting a chance to almost now relive your first breath. This is a whole new cycle for you. It has closed and opened again in a unique way. It's a wonderful age to be 60 in. I mean, 100 or so years ago, if you hit 40, you were lucky. But now it's like, it's at 60, you're hitting your renaissance. And now you're lucky enough to been born metal ox here, which is great. Metal produces things. Metal is a nail that puts the wood together, that creates, and the ox makes it happen. That Hathorian energy that you're accessing, the Icean energy, the Egyptian energy itself was the age of Taurus, and therefore also had the horns. You'll see that a lot, cow horns. It's a very loving symbol. So happy pre-birthday to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're getting thank yous for the reading.
Oh, thank you guys for the luxury of me being able to do this for you. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, this is absolutely delightful. What advice do you have for people? I know that you teach psychic development. What advice do you have for people that are looking to develop their spiritual and psychic gifts?
I would say very similar to first things first, what I said before. You balance your body and your mind. Your mind is now going to have to be prepared to take on a lot of energy. You want to be healthy so that you're in balance in this vibrational field. Then you'll be more effective for yourself and or if you choose your clientele in the future. So that I'd say is step number one, that sometimes people will not talk about that. But I know a lot of people that are supremely gifted intuitively, but they're not healthy necessarily. And it's sometimes they're even, because they're not eating the right foods, they're almost spaced out a bit, which has not been significantly helpful for your clientele. You want to be grounded while you're accessing various energy fields. So I would say, yes, first pay attention to the physical, stay healthy. I've paid strict attention to my health my whole life, and I'm glad I did. At this age now, it's helped me be radiant and feel good and continue with my calling. And then, of course, during that process of your diet is, like the reading just said, just be open to the vibrational field and vibrate to that which you feel is part of the light. Yes, shadow's a part of the candle. There can't be there must be some shadow in light. So it's understandable, but the more one vibrates from a loving vibrational field, the more it seems that those I know in my lifetime that have explored their own abilities have been bequeathed greater gifts because they're using it in positive ways, and they're having longevity because there's not an abuse or misuse of that vibrational field. And that doesn't even happen very often. That's usually with young people that are just curious anyway about powers like this.
Indeed. Do you meditate daily?
Yes, I do. I have various ways.
Can you share about the importance of that? I mean, I feel like a broken record. It's what I say to my students all the time.
Yeah, I
Would you
understand.
share your perspective about why that's so important?
Yeah, I think sometimes the struggle for some would be, am I doing it the way the yogis want me to? And I would be like, often, it doesn't matter that's how they do it. How are you unplugging some of the energy fields that perhaps you've been plugged into by your own accord or by others? So I find, as I'm able to be less stimulated by too much vibrational field, those are the stepping stones that start to take me into my own personal meditative place, where I can declutter my consciousness, and then you're more prepared for the day or for whatever moment you're about to plug into. And it doesn't even have to be, if you're not an early morning person, I don't know, I don't barely get any sleep anymore. I'm at that age now where I don't require it as much. It's fantastic. But so I love the night, I love the day. But I would say pay attention to also the your gut. Your gut tells you when is the right moment. When do you have that peaceful moment? Or maybe it's because the house is quiet for a second, where you know you got a moment where there's less distraction. Steal that for yourself. It's a gift for yourself. And as you know, Lynn, then find yourself in your more meditative state, your more soothed and calm state, your receptive modality.
Yeah, I find myself being able to respond rather than react.
Right.
I recently moved to Virginia, and I had a couple of events to come up to for the weekend in New York. And it was very funny being back in my mom's home. There was just this absolute appreciation
Oh, how nice.
of being away, being with her, and then coming back and just having this place of my own, very quietly on a river. And
How wonderful.
it's interesting, in my metal ox year, the 60th year, this Chinese New Year, that it was just what I needed, you know?
It's interesting. So what you've done in your 60th year is sort of what Edgar Casey did. He had a strong connection to Virginia as well. There is a powerful historical, American historical vibrational field there, as well as an antiquitous Native American vibrational field. It's just such a perfect energy field for you at this moment in your life. I'm so glad you found yourself there.
Yeah, Jesus literally, I was like, Jay, what am I doing here? And he said, you have some things from Atlantis that need to be healed.
Oh,
So I'm literally doing that. And Sandy Gorenat is helping me. You know, she's like, you need to go be in the water here.
right.
I haven't.
Absolutely agree with you. That's what's kept me on the East Coast as well. A lot of people have told me over the years, what are you doing buying a house a mile from the harbor when you know that the waters will elevate? And I'm like, well, I'm a New Yorker. I'm here to help people during these moments, not to run from them. And besides, you can run, but you can't hide anyway. There's going to be something else somewhere. But I do agree that for people like you and me on our particular path at this stage in our lives, the Atlantic Ocean is a very powerful vibrational field.
Yes.
It does have it, whether Atlantis will ever be discovered in the Atlantic or not matters less to me than the fact that it's close to the word Atlantis, and it vibrates to Atlantean energy fields. It works for me.
Yeah.
I remember my buddy and me going quite often on bike rides where he would just touch the surface of the water and start crying because he could pick up so much activity of, and that was just human activity, not all the life in the marine waters, but there's a lot of energy that water holds.
Yes. Greatest conductor of electricity.
It really is awesome.
Okay, so someone wants to ask, Michelle wants, am I allowed to ask? Hold on a second, let me read this. I know Daniel has mentioned chronic hip challenges himself. Is it possible if we inherit the physical ailment as part of a spiritual lesson, or is it a reflection of repressed emotion from childhood or past life injury, or just present life bad luck?
It can be any one of those things. It does depend on the person. I've suffered with stages of paralysis since I was a little boy where I could just not walk. And there was 3 separate incidences that I'll never forget. But by the time I was in my 20s, I was diagnosed with severe osteoarthritis. And this is someone who's taken care of myself and eaten well my whole life. So that was rough hearing that I would need a hip replacement by 30, and that I'd wear it out, and that I would need probably 4 more in my lifetime. I'm working on number 3 now, but I keep wearing them out because these were great life lessons for me, as well as, frankly, there was past life implications. I did ski and I was on the track team as a guy in high school. So I depended on my legs a lot. So I used them maybe more than most, but I never injured them though. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure, I don't have a specific past life recall where I've hurt my hips, but I am a Sagittarius, and Sagittarius rules the hips. Right. So whatever your zodiac sign rules is usually your Achilles heel anyway.
Right.
So if you're a Leo, watch your heart. If you're a Pisces, take care of your feet, and so forth. So I'm just classically Sagittarius, half man, half horse's ass, where it's going to be a hip issue. But when they had discovered that there was no cartilage left in my right hip, I went for 5 years with no cartilage because I told myself, Daniel, you can do this. You're a healer. But it was too late. There was no cartilage. But they did tell me when I was a kid, you're going to need your left one done too, Mr. Man, at a certain age. I kissed my hip and said, never, buddy, never. And I'm fine. I put my dancing videos on Facebook and Instagram all the time. I love to dance. I get such a kick out of dancing, and even with I'm for a white boy, I can dance pretty well with a busted hip. I mean, the hardest thing for me was last year when my wife had to call the hospital 911 because I dislocated my hip replacement. That was scary because it wasn't just a dislocated hip; it was a replacement that's ceramic and titanium. But as this questioner was asked, what I learned is, we are the robots to some extent. I was able to tell this titanium and alloy and this cadaver bone, which, by the way, they never told me they were going to put in, or I would not have agreed to. It wasn't until I woke up that they said, and we put cadaver bone in. I'm like, what? I had not told this doctor I was a psychic. I had told 19 others, but they wouldn't do the surgery on me. It freaked them out too much that I was even a psychic. They probably thought I knew all the malpractice suits against them or something. But with this particular doctor who put the cadaver bone in me, it was now already in me. So I remember coming home because I healed quickly. Within 2 days, I was home. But all of a sudden, I'm hearing music boxes. I'm hearing records from a long time ago. I'm hearing voices. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're in me now. What am I going to? So I had to have a talk with them, which is, look, guys, we have to live together. I don't know how long we're going to be together. It could be 10, it could be 15 years, but let's work this out. Let's work this out. I'll help you. You help me. And thank you for donating your body to science, or I wouldn't be mobile. And so we everything quieted down. But
that's some crazy karma for you.
But yeah, I never felt that it was a karmic debt that I owed. I felt like I was more than willing to understand that my mind could manipulate the energy fields that were implanted in me and around me. So it actually upped my abilities, especially the fact that they put the dead in me. And it's interesting because I had to ask the doctor because I have no filters. So I said, by the way, did you put like 20 different bones in me? Oh, yes, exactly, Daniel, 20. And I was like, good God, 20 different people are in me. But and I couldn't let him know. I don't know if my face said it all, but I was just thinking like, oh my Lord, well now what do I do? But here I am. I've done it. They're all good. They're all good people, and their energy fields wax and wane anyway. But and after dislocating it, which was very painful, I'm going to have it done yet again. But I don't know if they'll use cadaver bone again. That should be interesting. Whatever's going to happen should be interesting. They'll either take it out, which will change the vibrational field, or they won't take it out at all and just either add to it, or the next thing will happen, because each revision gets more difficult. But I'm a very strong man. I can take this. If this is part of the price I pay, having descended into matter, then I'll pay the price.
It's all soul contracts.
Yeah, it is.
To my core.
I signed on the dotted line. It's okay.
Right. We wrote in golden script.
Pardon.
Daniel, thank you so much for being with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. It's an honor. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you,
Please
Lynn.
tell us where to find you, Daniel.
Yeah, please.
Which say just go to danielakner.com.
Okay.
I got Daniel Akner on my Instagram page. Daniel Akner is my Facebook page. All the information's everywhere. I'm pretty open about it. My same business number for the past, I don't know how many years is somewhere there. But just go to danielakner.com. You can find me on YouTube. I'm all over the place.
Right.
I don't change my name. I don't come up with a nickname or something fancy. I've always just been Daniel Akner. I don't want a distinct name. That's who I am.
Just for everybody to know, Akner is Akner. DanielAkner.com.
Yeah, no ACK, just AKNER. I love the AK. Akasha. Akner.
I love it. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Everybody who joined us tonight. We will look forward to seeing you next week. And just as a reminder, Rob and I are going to be taking a break at the end of May. We're going to take June, July, and August off, and then we'll start again in September. And we will invite all of our guests who were with us before to come back and visit us again. So Daniel, we'll definitely look forward to having you back again.
Thank you, Daniel.
I look forward to it. Thank you, guys.
Everybody. Much
Appreciate
love,
it.
everyone.
Have a
Good night.
wonderful night.
Thank you so much.
You.
You're
See you
amazing.
next week.
Thanks. Thanks, Nan. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.